welcome you all, and I give the session to Professor C. Sheila Reddy.
Distinguished speakers of this session, Dr. Manikyam ji, Dr. Maitri ji, and Arun Kumar, and all the delegates to this very important conference. A very good morning to all of you. Are you rejuvenated by yesterday's discussion? Yes or no? It's very less. The sound is very less. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. And I should say that I have been, I have been part of this discussion since the inaugural session yesterday. Personally, it has been a very invigorating and enriching experience for me. I am here mainly because of Lakshman ji. There was so much warmth in his invitation. So I had to oblige. And after coming here, I realized that I would have missed a very important conference or a seminar if I would not have come to this place. Now, we all know that this seminar is being organized by it is a collaborative endeavor. 3 organizations are involved in this, that is ABRSM, TETA, and UAS. And coincidentally, there are 3 very important phrases in the theme of this seminar. One is Envisioning New Bharat. The second is Educational Reforms. The third is Indigenous Systems. Since yesterday, we have been trying to reiterate and reinforce the connect among these 3 words. Establishing a connect and understanding the linkage between these 3 phrases is very important for us to move in the right direction. We have 2 distinguished speakers for this session. You all know that the session is titled as Empowering Future Workforce, Integrating 21st Century Skills. And this is the 5th session. As I start the session, as the chair of this particular session, I think I need to just recapitulate in 1 or 2 sentences what we have been trying to do since yesterday. So in the 4 main technical sessions, we could understand what is the national curriculum framework, unleashing the potential of higher education. We also had a very interesting session on research and innovation for a sustainable world. And the 3rd was on National Education Policy 2020, navigating the future of learning. And of course, there were some paper presentations in the 4th session. And now we are here with the 5th session. I'll take just few minutes. Let us set the agenda for this session. Maybe I take 10 minutes and I give 20 minutes to each speaker. Hope that is agreeable to both of you. And later, there will be concluding remarks for 10 more minutes. So to start with, I will talk a bit about what is so unique about the national education policy, though it has been told many times, but I would share my perspective on this. And then I will try to link it with the theme of the present technical session and open it for discussion by the distinguished speakers. Now, when we say these 3 words, the 3 words, that is Envisioning New Bharat, Educational Reforms, and Indigenous Systems, what do these signify? As we envision New Bharat, it is essential that our educational reforms reflect the ethos and values of indigenous systems. What does NEP 2020 seek to visit or revisit? NEP 2020 seeks to visit the whole structure of education so as to align it with the aspirational goals of 21st century education, and at the same time build it upon the rich heritage of ancient Indian knowledge and thought. National education policy considers knowledge of India, that is Bharat, as one of the core subjects to be learned by all students to become successful, innovative, adaptable, and productive human beings. Each word has a lot of significance. Re-emphasizing and appreciating the cultural heritage, traditions, and knowledge systems of different groups and different regions of the country is key to understand the nature of the country's pluralistic society and rich culture. This will help in imparting or instilling values such as respect for diversity, tolerance, mutual understanding, patience, and peaceful coexistence. Yesterday we were told by many distinguished vice chancellors spoke, the directors of reputed institutions of national eminence shared their perspective. They repeatedly emphasized that we need to look into the NEP document. We need to read the document, reread the document so that it gets ingrained into us, we internalize it as educators to deliver what is needful. NEP 2020 acknowledges the contributions of some world-class institutions of ancient India, such as, we all know that, Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramashila, and Vallabhi, which were famous for multidisciplinary teaching and research, and which had scholars from different and diverse backgrounds and countries. So what I mean to say is, cross-disciplinary approach has been the part of Indian pedagogy since ancient times. Now the question is, which is very, very important, do we instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride of being an Indian, not only in thought, but in spirit, intellect, and deeds? This is a very important question which we need to raise to ourselves. National education policy aims to develop skills, values, and dispositions that supports a responsible commitment to protection of human rights, sustainable development, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. Now let me come to the theme of this particular session, that is empowering future workforce, integrating 21st century skills. We all know that the size and age of workforce of India will play a significant role in its economic growth in the coming years. Statistics prove that share of India's working age population to total population will reach its highest level at 68.9% by 2030, and India's dependency ratio is projected to reach its lowest point at 31.2%. So there is a lot to tap. With a relatively young population, that is median age of around 28.24 years, India not only gets a competitive advantage in terms of force, but also an opportunity to unleash the potential and consumption power of young population. Now, there are many questions like how to empower future workforce, then how to integrate the 21st century skills, what sort of skill sets are required, how to leverage technology and navigate in a very globally competitive world. Now, what are these 21st century skills and what do they enable us? 21st century skills enable an individual to face the challenges of 21st century world. And how is the 21st century world? The 21st century world is globally active, dynamic, digitally evolving and transforming, and collaboratively moving forward, creatively progressing and seeking competence in human resource and quickly adapting to changes. Adopting and adapting to changes. So what could really be done to improve collaboration, creativity? All these things were discussed at length in yesterday's sessions, and there were many examples which were given, which were really fruitful and which gave a lot of food for thought and a lot of introspection which we need to do on ourselves as educators. So what I mean to say is the entire narrative on learning has changed. It is learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. So what do 21st century skills connote? They connote or extend beyond academic competencies, acknowledging the need for a holistic nature of education and preparing individuals to face the challenges or the demands of the contemporary society. It is also emphasizing not only just cognitive abilities, but also social and emotional intelligence, thereby reflecting the interconnectedness of today's globalized world. That is where we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. Now, the challenges are more for higher education institutions and educators. Why do I say this? Because they have to play a significant role in creating an ecosystem that nurtures these skills. I can say that, and we also agreed upon that, educators are no longer disseminators of information. They are facilitators of learning experiences that encourage collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. It is here the pedagogy becomes very, very important. Pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, flexible, learner-centric, discussion-based, and at the same time, enjoyable. See how challenging it is for an educator or for a teacher. Yesterday also it was said in one of the sessions, it is more a challenge to a teacher than to a student. The present day environment wherein we have to mold students in the right direction. So the emphasis is not what is taught, but the way it is taught. So when we talk of vision of New Bharat, or what this entire ecosystem, the national education policy is changing at, we need to look at the earlier constraints, like, the earlier it was more a fragmented system. There was clear-cut separation of disciplines with early emphasis on specialization. There was no proper emphasis on research, and there was lack of funding for it. And there were also ineffective regulatory mechanisms, and one more such constraint was large affiliating universities with many, many undergraduate colleges, difficult to ensure quality among them. So it is this ecosystem that the national education policy is attempting to reform, rectify, or to transform to move ahead to face the challenges of the 21st century. So I can say that the vision of New Bharat is one where education is not a means to an end, but a journey of self-discovery, exploration, and growth. So by embracing indigenous knowledge systems and weaving them into the fabric of education, what are we trying to do? We are trying to create a more inclusive, culturally rich, and sustainable learning environment. And how should be that learning environment? Such learning environment should be facilitated wherein it can empower students to thrive in the 21st century by honoring simultaneously the heritage and traditions. As I said, I would be very brief in my opening remarks, and I would like to conclude by saying that the illiterate of 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I stop at this, and because you will have a lot of insight from the two distinguished speakers who are here with a lot of administrative and academic experience, they will definitely add value to the theme of the session. Thank you so much. May I now request Dr. Manikyam ji to please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we are assembled here to talk about education. And the chairman had given a very good introduction about the theme of events today. And we are in a very confused state. We are a confused nation. That's always the case. Because if you look at engineering, we don't know whether we follow inches or we follow metric or we follow both. So India is the only country where you can get tools on metric and inches, everything simultaneously. You have products coming in. So similarly, in education, we have the government of India saying a set of policies, and the state governments saying a different set of policies, and it's a concurrent subject. So we have decided to have a difference coming in. So I would like to just take a couple of points that the chairman had mentioned and expand on it. And today's topic I notice is education of the workforce. So I will focus on talking about the workforce a little more. But let's start with first thing. The chairman had made a statement. Does the learner have pride in what he's learning? Okay, so what it means when the student comes in, is he proud of learning what he's learning? Okay. Now, what does an 18-year-old kid know about anything to have pride? The Indian education system is what your parents tell you to do. I finished my +2. I asked my friends and I asked my parents. And finally, my parents decide either I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become an engineer. I have some aspirations, but the guidance comes from the parents. So we are sending a set of immature youngsters to college. So that's where the problem comes in. You've not formed your opinion. And 2 years down the line, you suddenly realize, I don't like this. Then you become a disinterested student, you drop out, and this thing. So my question, first thing is, do our politicians have pride in our education system? Do our bureaucrats have pride in our education system? If they do, how many politicians send their children abroad for their primary education? How many bureaucrats send their children abroad for primary education? I've seen a lot of politicians. I've seen a lot of bureaucrats. My son is in Harvard doing his BS. My son is in Michigan, Stanford. So you want to send them into international school? Now we have international Cambridge education coming in schools today. Why do I need Cambridge in India? Because I want to send my child abroad for bachelor's. So I am showing I have no pride in my education system as a parent. Then how do I expect my child to have pride in something which I am not showing? So this is the first defect we have. Second thing is, we confuse it so much. Finally, nobody knows what. With Nalanda, I mean, we talk about Nalanda. I don't know what is Nalanda. That's history, destroyed. I don't even know what was there. Do I even give respect for my current education? For instance, I'm in healthcare. I'm working on healthcare. We have herbs which can cure autism, which can cure cancer. And we wait for Harvard to write a paper and say, oh, Harvard said, this herb will cure autism. Why am I asking Harvard? I must be asking my rishis. I don't believe my rishis. I want Oxford or Harvard to endorse what my rishis said, which means I have no faith in my own science. So what we need the government to do is to endorse certain technologies which are Indian as purely as Indian. And say, okay, this is from India, this is what it's going to do, this is what it's going to cure. Our central universities have to do it. They're not doing it. So until you have your own institutions coming up with pride on what we are doing, the student will not have a pride. The student's pride comes from the regulator, it comes from the parent, it comes from the environment. So that is what we need to first ensure, that we respect our culture, we respect mathematics. And one more thing we have a problem is that we follow the British system of education. How many credit hours do we give for an engineering degree? Average, it's 196 credit hours to get an engineering degree in 4 years, right? So that is in 16 weeks. Sorry, that's 4 times, 8 years and 8 semesters. So roughly I'm doing about 24 credits per week, 24 contact class hours to get my degree, right? Now I switch to America. We are looking at America as a top education destination. You know what is the average credit load for a student there? High load is 12 hours. So in 8 semesters, the entire credit that he does is 96 credit hours to get his degree. So he's doing 96 hours. My student is doing 196 hours. We are more than double the load of an average American student. So what happens? Here we are producing clerks. That's what the British wanted to do. They wanted to produce clerks who knew everything, who knew English, who can talk properly, understand, and execute what they told. Never think on their own. I need to give time for the student to understand the subject, and we want research papers. Research papers are not going to come out of a student who's studying 196 hours a week, for a whole degree. He needs 96. Now our IT is around 120. Now you look at the good schools, our universities are 196, IITs are at 130, Harvard is at 96. So this is something where we need to start looking at, okay, when I'm doing 96, I will do fewer subjects. I will not do more subjects. My coverage is not going to be as broad as it is today in India. But my depth will be higher. You're giving the student time to, contemplate. You're giving the student time to research. You're giving the student time to ponder over issues. And then you're also giving faculty time to start writing paper. Today, my faculty is asked to teach for 196 hours, and my NAC rating says how many papers have they written, what research. Man, these guys cannot do research. They are purely just vomiting what they've learned, and they have to, deliver. So I'm not allowing a teacher to function. I'm not allowing a student to function, but I'm wanting results like Harvard, but I'm not willing to follow Harvard. So this is a complete confusion we have. Until this kind of confusion is sorted out, you're not going to produce results like Harvard. Right? So what happens in American system? I sample a lot of things. I study only what I want to study. I study only what I'm interested in studying. So I'm putting in a lot of time. I'm focusing on it, and I'm getting a good result out of it. So this is something I'd like to leave with the educators. Are we loading our children too much? Are we loading our faculty too much? Are we really getting the output? This is the first thing that we need to focus on. So this we've been discussing. And secondly, we have no respect for our own indigenous technology, zero. If I have a herb called Seendal, Google it, that's India's official herb. That herb can cure cancer, it can cure autism, it is a glutamate blocker. You look at autism, it's a glutamate disorder. So if I can block the body from using glutamate, I can probably attack autism. I work on a cancer a lot. Cancer runs on two fuels. One, it runs on glutamates, the other one, it runs on sugar. If I go on a sugar-free diet, I'm 50% sure I'm killing cancer. If I go sugar and glutamate-free diet, your cancer cannot survive more than 30 days in your body. And the best glutamate inhibitor in the world is Seendal. We named it the national herb of India. Okay? But we have done no work on it. Somebody else in the US is doing it. So you look at this, it's confusing again. Because I have no pride. I want Harvard to come and tell me this is good, and he will take a formulation, he'll patent it, he'll give me the drug. I'll prescribe it at 100 times the price. I'm okay. But I have no central university which has gone and said, this is our recommendation. We don't care about FDA. We don't care about the EU. We don't care about anybody else. I'm certifying it. Do we have that? No. We don't have somebody coming out and saying, my technology has been tested and proven, and I'm giving a certificate saying that this is going to work. This is what we need. Today, what we need is not changing of policies, not changing of attitudes. What we need is certification. We need indigenous research, we need indigenous certification, which I can rely on and say, this is what I'm doing. And now let's talk about training of workers, right? We have a lot of workers who come in the job, who start working. Now we have systems like BWOC coming and all that. So this is something where we need to have schools which will train people. Again, I go back. A part-time student, if he has to do 196 hours to get a bachelor's, you're not motivating him. If he's got 96 hours to get a bachelor's, it's half as easy. And he gets credit for another 20 for work done. About 60, 70, he can get a bachelor's. Then you're motivating. What we are saying is, we are treating the worker as a regular student. You're putting him into the same mill and telling him do 196 hours of classes. He's never going to do it. You're never going to have somebody pass out. So you have polytechnics and community colleges which can deliver. Supposing I'm able to focus, saying that this is what I'm delivering. Let's say we have the new policy that talks about BWOC, MWOC and all that. Those streams should not have the same 196 credit hours. Right now what we have is the 196 credit hours. So if somebody wants to do BWOC, he's going to be working 20 hours a day. He's not going to deliver. No point in somebody sitting in Delhi, theoretically, bureaucrats, politicians, making a statement which has got no relevance on the ground. We can keep talking, nothing is going to happen. If you want it to happen, let us say I'll give a BSc in machining. Only teach him machining. Don't teach him anything else. You're giving him a degree only for machining. You're giving a degree only for, make it a very specific degree, make it light, let him deliver. And he cannot claim that he's a BSc, mathematics, because he's only a BSc machining. So in a machining, he's a specialist. In welding, in plating, in painting. Let's start talking about skill-based degrees. BWOC can be there. Let's not be a BSc. It can be a vocational degree on a vocational subject, not a BWOC on, right now a BWOC is on a regular degree. The Bharatiyar University will give a BVoc mathematics. Come on, he's not going to match for a BSc mathematics. Nobody is recruiting a BVoc mathematics today. You go to TCS, they don't care about BVoc mathematics. You go to Intel, nobody's going to talk. So it's already isolated. So let's talk about BVoc being a technical degree, specifically for a skill. Let's target it for a skill and let's make that person qualified in skills. So today something is not going, it's not because somebody is resisting unnecessarily. Because I'm not giving something which is required for the environment. If I give something required for the environment, everybody will lap it up. So this is what we need to do. When we're talking about training the worker, I need to train him on something which will make him a better worker and not a better mathematician, not a better chemist. He doesn't care. He needs to get deeper on his own job. So can we focus? And finally, let's talk about agriculture. Today, the biggest Brahmins we have today are the agricultural graduates. Because to get into agriculture college, it's 96%. Okay, I run 2 agricultural colleges. We get all kinds of boys, right? 96, 98% is this thing. What do they want to do? 50% wants to write IAS exam. And other 50% wants to get a bank job. Because the bankers need agriculture officers. This is a very good filter, so they have passed the IAS. So 100% of the agricultural graduates that we are graduating are going into banks or going into the government. So I can have phenomenal alumni who are IAS, phenomenal alumni who are bankers, but they're not going to the farmer. So I need the farmer to get a degree. ICAR is talking about crap. Sorry I'm saying this, because they're talking about high quality of education. My farmer doesn't need high quality. He wants to know what is a pesticide, what is a fertilizer. Can I give BVoc degrees on agriculture? You forget BSc. BVoc on agriculture, 3 months, we shall be talking about fertilizer. BVoc on, pesticide, whatever. 3 months, he does a program. He becomes an expert on how to increase the productivity. So we need to look at, this is where America went over. They have these community colleges. Those community colleges give certificates, very small. So you go to the US, somebody will open his wallet, he'll show about 20 cards, small cards. It's not a degree. It's a small credit card like, it says in the expert in fertilizer, expert in this, expert in this. He'll have those kind of qualification. That's what we need. I need a certification. I don't need a degree. So this is what I think we should focus on. If you get these kind of certifications, you will get better quality of workers, better quality of farmers, better quality of traders, everything. I mean, this is what we need to do as a nation. And I'd like to submit to this House, we need to look at the whole thing in an open way. And also we need to look back on our culture, look back on what all we have, how I can certify. Can I certify, turmeric? America is trying to take a patent, we stopped the patent. Very good. Okay, we are saying pride. I went and stopped America from patenting turmeric. What have we done with it? Have we said this drug will cure these diseases? No. We only stopped somebody from doing a job. But we have not taken that particular thing and run with it. So like that, there are so many herbs. We need to take those herbs last mile, find out solutions, and certify those solutions. So somebody can boldly give that as a medicine and cure diseases. So this is what I'd like to leave this House. It's 20 minutes. I don't want to take more time than this. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, and it's a great pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for raising some pertinent points and sharing from your experiences. And you know that he's a very eminent personality, Dr. Manikam. Though I should have supposed to introduce it, I didn't have it because of the last minute change. If you don't mind, I'll give a brief about you. So Dr. M. Manikam is the chairman of the company and holds a master's degree in statistics from Madras University and a master's degree in business administration from University of Michigan, USA. He is the Executive Chairman and Managing Director of Shakti Sugars Limited. He is also the Chairman and Managing Director of Shakti Auto Component Limited. He is also the Chairman of Governing Council of Dr. Mahalingam College of Engineering and Technology and Nachimuthu Polytechnic College, Pollachi, and Vice Chairman of the Governing College of Kumara Guru College of Technology, Coimbatore, and correspondent for 5 other educational institutions. So we are quite fortunate to have such an eminent academician with rich experience amongst us. So in recognition of his contribution in the management of agro-processing industries and agricultural development, he was awarded the Doctor of Science by Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, Coimbatore in July 2010. He was the president of Indian Sugar Mills Association during 1996-97. Sir, we could sense in your sharing of your perspective the concern you have for the Indian education system. So the entire thought process needs to be changed for us to transform in the right direction. Thank you so much for your valuable thoughts. Now I take this opportunity to welcome Professor Bhimarai Maitri, currently Director IIM Nagpur, who is a distinguished academician, renowned teacher, researcher, and an astute administrator and institutional builder. He is an outstanding leader of management education. He has performed key leadership roles at many premier management institutes and corporates in his remarkable career. Dr. Maitri is the former director of IIM Tiruchirappalli. Under his leadership, IIM Tiruchirappalli has catapulted among the league of top business schools in India. So it's a rare opportunity to have a person of his stature to interact with us. Definitely he would provide a great insight to all of us. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Very good morning, respected chairman and distinguished panel member Manikammanji and Sri Arun Kumarji, all the distinguished participants. First of all, I take this opportunity to thank Lakshmananji organizing this great seminar, 2-day seminar on very apt and relevant topic. And now this particular session, we are focusing on empowering future workforce, integrating 21st century skills. Chairperson has introduced the topic and Dr. Manikamman, distinguished speaker, expressed the concern in current higher education institutions in India. So with this backdrop, I'll just begin with what is happening globally and then come to the topic. So let us build the context. If you see all over the world, disruption is a common phenomenon. Disruption has impacted everybody and every sector, not only education sector. And not only disruption, if you see the recent decades, it is a dramatic disruption, faster than fast. Apart from this, even if you see some of the statistics, the data says, before 2002, whatever the data generated, and after the 2002, 2 days data generated is much more than the data generated from civilization to 2002. So this speaks a lot about the kind of data we are generating. And now that data is available with us. How to make use of data for our day-to-day life and decision-making for betterment of the society is extremely important. Apart from this, if you see some of the examples all over the world, particularly West, we have adopted Western education system after independence, and today, I can say West is West. WEST is now WAST. Because if you look at the Western education, as Sir has rightly pointed out, their focus was how to make use of Indians for their benefit and their objective. And that is how Macaulay education system was prominent in India for many, many years. Now, after NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, it is a gold standard. It emerged as a gold standard. It encompasses all the aspects which a good human being, and not only good human being, who takes care of all living beings, including sustainability, global citizenship, and nobody left out. So diversity, all the aspects are covered. And if you see some of the highlights, it talks about, the sir was talking about certificate course, all kinds of flexibility is given. Rigidity, stupidity, that has been now come out of this education policy. So lot of flexibilities are given. Anybody wants to pursue the passion, the Indian higher education is going to be the role model for rest of the world. Having said that, even though till today, whatever the, till 2020, I must say, because 29 July, we are celebrating 4th year of implementation of NEP 2020. But even before 2020, if you see, in spite of whatever the education we are having, even if you look at America or Singapore, Australia, all the best education institutions are headed by Indians with our own education system. So this speaks a lot about our indigenous system, our tradition. And somebody has made a study that says the more billionaires in America, they are Indians. More entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, they are Indians. All toppers in American university, they are Indians. All the best institutions in America are headed by Indians. And of course, the top 25 companies in America are headed by Indian CEOs. So this speaks a lot about our culture and our tradition. Along with, whatever the education we are having, but the culture and tradition, that basically taken Indians outside India very higher level. And therefore, this topic, education reform, New Bharat, and our tradition, our indigenous system, this is extremely important, how to marry technology with our tradition. That is extremely important. So how to maintain our tradition, at the same time, how to fully make use of technology so that we can stand up in the crowd. As the chairperson rightly said in the beginning, the youth population, demographic dividend. This is extremely important. If you see, Japan and India both got freedom at the same time almost, but Japan became super economy in 1980. The important reason for that was 1965, Japan was the youngest nation in the world. After 15 years, Japan became super economy. 1980, Singapore was the youngest nation. 1995, Singapore became super economy. 2000, China became youngest nation. And till today, entire world talks about China and Chinese manufacturing, Chinese foreign direct investment, and Chinese infrastructure. So if you look at China, 1994 to 2005, those around 10 years, 50% of the steel produced in the world and 50% of the cement produced in the world, 35% of the steel produced in the world was used to build Chinese infrastructure. And then thereafter, you might have seen the foreign direct investment. All companies went. And Chinese were known for stealing the technology of those companies invested in Shanghai. And Chinese came out with their own R&D. And that is where I think our earlier speaker talked about, unless until we are great in R&D, research and development, that is one of the important prerequisites to take a global leadership. And China took a global leadership because they went ahead with R&D. That may not be ethical way, but unethical way they went. And Chinese products, even though they are earlier maybe 2000 very cheap and use and throw, but later on Chinese came out and now they started giving competition. So therefore R&D is one of the important, because we are biggest consumer of the technology. Now the time has come, we should be the producer of the technology. Apart from consumer of the technology, producer of the technology is extremely important. And for that, National Education Policy, Anusandhan, National Research Foundation, already February 2024, government has announced and given to Department of Science and Technology, 50,000 crores have been already sanctioned and for interdisciplinary and R&D purpose. And most of the universities, including central universities, state university, irrespective of private and government, many private universities are also going to get a share for R&D. So as a part of NEP, many of the issues what we were facing 4-5 years back as a part of old education system, they all have been taken care in National Education Policy. And I'm sure very soon, the biggest milestone the Indian higher education is going to achieve in the form of Higher Education Commission of India. It is going to a reality, and that total transformation in higher education is come through Higher Education Commission of India. And whatever the concern, I think Dr. Manikandanji has raised, many of them are going to be taken care as a part of implementation of NEP. Already it has started, but once the Higher Education Commission of India comes, many reforms, many notification will come, and those issues are sorted out, and probably many certificates and credits and students can register different courses in different universities, and after accumulating all those courses, and they may get the degree or certificate or diploma. So all those flexibilities are built. Even a student who is doing ITI or diploma, they can also register for degree based on their credit, and national credit framework has already come. So those are part of the national education policy in coming 12 to, because 2035 is supposed to 100% implement NEP, but probably it may go a few years more. But by 2040, India is going to 100% implementation of NEP plus, anything you implement new, there are always adjustment and readjustment takes place. By 40, we'll be, totally on our track for implementation, successful implementation of NEP. But if you look at the, India is going to be 26, 27, it is going to be the third biggest, largest economy, beating Japan and Germany. So these are all the development and many things. One is youth population and India's leadership and India's dynamic movement and India's presence in global, as well as India marching from fifth to third economy. And if you study the history of GDP, if you see India took 60 years, 1947 to 2007. So it took 60 years to become one, basically, trillion economy. But 2007 to 14, it took 7 years to reach the second, and 6 years to become third. And already we are in 4. And nobody can stop us to reach another year or 2. And then there onwards, there is a prediction according to IMF, every 2-3 years India is going to touch 1 trillion. So that is where Viksit Bharat or New Bharat is going to, in 2047, Amrit Kal, there are a lot of changes are happening. So in this context, this particular topic, empowering the workforce, integrating 21st century skills are important. When you talk about empowering the workforce, 3 things are important: the workforce, and workplace. These 3 have totally changed. If you see the last 2 decades, workplace, and workforce, all 3 have changed, and all 3 should be seen in a different lens in today's context. Now, the moment word empower comes, empower means you are giving full autonomy, full empowerment. And you know that national education policy, all higher education institutions are going to be fully empowered. They are all going to be autonomous institutions, whether it's multidisciplinary education and research university, Meru, are comprehensive teaching universities, central and state universities, many private and deemed universities. And third one is a degree granting college like ISER, IIM. So, and the fourth may be a cluster university. All are going to be autonomous, and there are not going to be any single college as a affiliated college. So autonomy is going to come, empowerment is going to come for the institutions, and empowerment comes with larger accountability for delivering the result. That accountability is extremely important. Autonomy and accountability, they go together. So when you talk about the workforce, it is in education sector or even industry, then the second part, integrating the 21st century skills. Now, if you look at the World Economic Forum report, every 5 years they publish it and they give the every 5 year skills. Every 5 year skill sets are changing. Now, we are talking about 21st century skills. So, skill today has a self-life. So, maybe a 4 year engineering, somebody started, first year mechanical, end of the 4 year, probably a plan to join a good company like Maruti, probably he may change because everything would have been autonomous in Maruti Suzuki. Because what you studied in the course and the moment you graduate, there is no relevance. So today, extremely important how to remain relevant to the present world, whereas present world is continuously changing. So in this dynamic world, it is just like if you go to the river, if you touch the water, after 5 minutes again, if you go and touch the water, you will not touch the same water. So this is the kind of fluid world we are in. And therefore, in education institutions, all higher education institutions, leaders have to, change their leadership style. Probably earlier people used to say, leaders have changed, leadership has not changed. Means leaders have changed, leadership style has not changed. But today, whether leaders will change or not, but leadership style has to change because it is a disruptive world. If you don't disrupt others, we will get disrupted. We will be thrown out of the market. So therefore, a leadership is extremely important in higher education institution or any other institution to remain relevant to the present world. We should be the first one to capture the technology. We should never be the last one. We have to remain with the technology. And for that, sense-making is extremely important. Sense-making skill. It was not required earlier. Sense-making skill means what is going to come 3 years down the line. What skills are going to disappear? What new skills are going to come? What tasks are robots are going to take? And what changes are happening even at board level in corporate as well as higher education institution. Probably, many of the companies, they say that they make smart robot as a board member to provide unbiased data of the corporate world. Because if any individual sits, that person may hide the data of his or her own friend, but robot will give the unbiased data though, so that board can make a facts-based decision. Smart robots are managing the ordinary robots. And robots are also have a skills, behaviors. Out of 1200 behaviors of the human being, 65 behaviors have been incorporated into the robots. So this is the kind of world we are in. So therefore, the people skill, which has a self-life, therefore today's context, what I want to suggest is instead of, skill looking at forever, skills are only self-life. Maybe we don't know when the life of the skill will be over. Probably if you look at the driverless cars, EV vehicles, now what drivers will do? If you look at 3D printing, now earlier 14,000 components are required to make one car. Now 200 components are good enough to print a car. Now L&T already started printing a houses, 2-bedroom kitchen in 8 hours in Bangalore. So this is the kind of world what we teach as a inventory, vendor managed inventory in engineering or in operations, they are all not going to be relevant. So 3D printing is a game changer. So this is the kind of disruptions happening, how to bring those technological changes into the academia, and at the same time, those 3D printing or even blockchain may not last long, or AI, generative AI is the world of today. So in such a context, how to prepare our student as a lifelong learner. How to prepare our students as a change masters to lead the unknown roles in unborn companies is extremely important. It means they have to be a perpetual learners. Everybody has to be a perpetual learner so that we can remain relevant to the present world. And some of the skills which are going to be permanent forever irrespective of what disruption comes, that is sense making. Somebody has rightly said yesterday of tomorrow is today. If yesterday of tomorrow is today, if you act today, tomorrow we are going to be at right place, we stand up in the crowd. If you keeping sense making in mind, if you don't act today, then tomorrow will be out of the market. So sense making skill is important. So if you divide all the kinds of skill into 4 categories in national education policy, also it is going to come at the lower level in higher education. That is 3 kinds of skill. One is learning skills. Second one is literary skills. And the third one is life and innovation skills. So these are the 3 types of skills. Irrespective of what disruption happens, they are required. Now, if you look at the learning skills, critical thinking. Critical thinking is extremely important and it is never be replaced by anybody. It will remain forever with us. Functional skills are going to be replaced. If I'm an expert in particular function, probably robot may come and take over my job. But this kind of skills are going to remain with us, that is critical thinking. And that is extremely important for analysis, for formation, for pattern as well as decision making. Second skill is a creative thinking. And that is need of an hour in today's world if you want to differentiate from others. And creative thinking comes from the people, those who are mad. Mad people can only be a creative thinking. Mad means make a difference, not an English dictionary mad. So who can make a difference? Such people are always a creative thinking. Third one is a strategic thinking. Strategic thinking means it is basically a strategic thinking. Basically, it is about sense making. 3 years down the line, what are the things disappearing, how I should prepare, how to create a new curve myself in the corporate world or academia. Those are all coming as a strategic thinking. Apart from that, communication skill, it is going to play a very significant role, even though there are softwares, even if you speak in, say, in Tamil, somebody can listen in Hindi or Marathi or Kannada in other languages, but still the way we communicate, the way we present, that is going to influence the others, and that is going to be extremely important, that no software, no AI, no IoT can going to replace. So these are the skills, and apart from that, problem solving skill, that is one more. Every time problem may change, but problem solving skills, mindset we have to build. And to do all that, our mindset has to be a growth mindset, not fixed mindset. Rigidity, stupidity, and therefore this is a one step, that is a learning skill, and that is where NEP is mentioned, learning to learn. Important, one of the highlight in NEP is learning to learn. That covers various aspects. Then second aspect, literary skills. It is about information literacy. If you don't know, you can't act. And that you don't question, you will not come to know. So therefore, how to get into the new era, new area information, what is coming next and what is today and what is going to be tomorrow, that information is important. Second one is media, because in this today's world, social media is important. In Hindi we say, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. So if you are not visible, your skills or whatever it is, then you are not going to be in demand in the market. Media is important. Third one is a technology literacy. And that is what the chairperson was rightly talking about, 21st century illiterates, those who don't understand the 21st century tools and technology, they are the illiterates. So this is the literacy skill part. And the last, life skills, it is about how to lead the beautiful life. Because I visited Govardhan Eco Village, 90 kilometers from Mumbai, Dr. Gauranga Das Prabhu, who is from, Palghat. So I visited, and his general manager, secretary is there, one Mr. Goel, and I just asked his background. He says, I am BTech Mechanical IIT Mumbai. He worked 2 years in Hyderabad in IT industry. He went to Michigan for his masters. And after masters, he straightway landed in Govardhan UK village. And the Swamiji Gaurangadas Prabhu introduced many people. There are many, 24 of people are from IIT Bombay, MTech in water resources, many of them are there. Yesterday I went to Isha Foundation. I was, accompanied by one volunteer. She was working in IT industry. She said, I took extraordinary leave. Last 3 years I am here, but what is your plan? She said, I am not going to back. Such a great ecosystem and context I never get, and there is no question of going back. So I will resign from the job. So what sir was talking about, so basically in education system, before NEP, we were only focusing on functional skills. Functional skills means, mechanical, civil, 2-cycle, 4-cycle, all engines and all. We used to talk, all professional only focus. But a professional goal is a small part in a life, but to lead the life, many things are important, and most important values, that is a moral value, ethical value, spiritual value, and civic values. These 4 values are extremely important, and that is where our national education policy founded on IKS, Indian Knowledge System. Those are given, probably our time, grandparents used to give those values in houses, but in today's generation, because of the job and all, moving from other places and all, now kids are given to the maids, and you can understand what kind of values they learn from the maids. And that is where in NEP, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 has come. In 5 years, those values are to be inculcated. And that is where NEP is going to take care of that also. So therefore, these are the skills. Irrespective of disruption, they are going to be there. But functional skills, whether I am expert in quality, whether I am expert in some of the professional, all those are going to change. Even legal profession, cyber crime is going to be entirely different area. So every professional skills are going to keep on changing. But these 3 types of skills, what I mentioned, they are all going to remain as. And those are extremely important. And innovation, adoption, adaptation are the only way of life. Therefore, how to prepare our students, and also learning and development in the corporate world, in these 2 spaces, context is changing due to every disruption. Every disruption brings the change in context, and every context demands a skilling, reskilling, upskilling, learning, new learning, and unlearning. Therefore, how to handle the context, and context is changing because of disruption. Therefore, a functional skills have to be completely adjusted every time the context changes or disruption happens. Therefore, one more important skill, I must say that is extremely important, how quickly you can learn the new skill. When it comes to functional area, how quickly I can learn the new skill. If it comes to AI, how quickly I can learn AI, how quickly I can learn ChatGPT. So in the functional area, how quickly you can remain relevant to the present world by learning the relevant functional skills is extremely important. Apart from all this, in life skill, one more important, that is a leadership. And leadership skill, I already told. And along with the leadership, the behavioral skills are extremely important, because the way we behave, our reputation comes from our character and our behavior. And the way we influence to inspire the people, to motivate the people. So those behavioral skills and leadership skills are going to be extremely important, and behavior is also important aspect of the leaders. So these are the few aspects, and if any questions I will take. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor Maitri, for comprehensively explaining that all of us need to keep pace with the changing needs and demands of the time. And if we don't, we will be lagging behind. And it is no longer tradition versus modernity, it is tradition with modernity. You all have heard the 2 distinguished speakers. I request the audience to raise any questions if you have, or observations or comments. before I request Arun Kumar to give his concluding remarks. Yes, any questions? Please introduce yourself and address the question to the specific speaker, right?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Krishna Veni, Assistant Professor from PSG College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. My question is to Dr. Manikam, sir. Sir, it was very nice and good to see the true thoughts that you were talking about, farming kind of practices where we really require more of practical approach. I have never been to my farm. I don't know any of the farming practices that my forefathers had been doing it. So I badly want a training in those aspects which none of the organizations are offering. So I'm happy that you were able to put those kind of thoughts into the session, sir. But how do you think specialization in machining kind of courses will help for a population like India? We are, for example, in PSG College of Arts and Science, we have 15,000 students. So we are used to this kind of a system where we are training more number of students in a particular area, say auditing, BCom kind of degrees. So can you give a little more explanation on that, sir? How can this specialization help for Indian population and train more youngsters in a country like India?
Thank you, ma'am. See, one thing is, every day we are seeing, let's say particularly in Tamil Nadu, you go to any restaurant, the server is a North Indian. And you go to any other factories, the hard work is being done by people from the north. That is because we are training our children to do only IT. I mean, most of the children want to do something like, sitting in an air-conditioned cabin, and they want to do this. So none of them are willing to get their hands dirty. So we need to have a combination. And you're talking about farming. So today what I find, you will want to go to the farm, but you don't go to the farm because you feel shy, because you don't know anything. You don't know anything, so your own staff is better than you, so you feel shy to walk in there. So I need to give a certificate course. If I can give you 2 hours a week for 4 weeks to teach you what to do, and then you'll be able to go in. So that is something I don't have. My university, Agriculture University, is wanting to produce only IAS officers and bank managers. So I need to give certificate course, which will be able to give, get a lot of people who will walk in. So this is what we need to get, certification. This is what I'm looking at. And talking about certificate in machining, for instance, these are all jobs which will be, I'm talking about evoke, somebody who's already employed. I'm not going to create an employment here. See, today what we are finding is that we have machine shop guys who do just machining. They have no idea of the cutting parameters. They have no idea of the material that they're using. They have no idea of the tips, no idea of the machine. So basically, I rely on a vendor to tell me what to do. I rely on a chip vendor, the tip vendor. I rely on the machine vendor. My worker has no idea what's going on. He has no idea of the theory. In case he's able to know a little bit more on the theory, he'll be able to produce better work. So China, if you really see, I walked into a factory which was producing transformers. We bought those transformers in 2007. Everybody was cautioning us, there's a 25 MVA transformer. And the owner of the factory was a farmer. He just walked out from a farm and then started a factory. He's got people who got trained and everything. And that transformer is there. 17 years, I've not had a single problem so far. We've had 3 such transformers. But in China, we are seeing a lot of training happening. A lot of, on-the-job training. So that is what we need to really focus on.
Yes.
So very good morning. I am Dr. Kandasamy from Karpam College of Pharmacy, Professor. My question is to Dr. Manikam, sir. Sir, as you mentioned very well, I'm a pharmacognosist basically, working on with herbal drugs. And you have highlighted very well about the Sendal Kodi. And there is a lack of awareness in the usage of medicines. So we are not ready to take care of traditional system of medicines. Rather, we are more cautious to take Western medicine. And what is the sort of awareness that can be created to bring back the transition of knowledge back to our tradition?
Yes, sir. I think Tamil Nadu is leading in that because probably that Siddha, treatment and way our government has been working on Siddha, I think we've done a very good job. And we need to promote more local thing. Right now, I find a lot of the traditional medicine people are trying to copy the Western medicine. But we should go back on our own tradition and see these are all medicine certified. So Government of India should certify certain herbs as being unique for a certain disease. This is what we need to get from Government of India, some research based on this, and then to say certify these herbs, and doctors can prescribe these herbs. Today, for instance, Gugulip, which is from Gugulipid, which is given for cholesterol. There's nothing else for cholesterol. Live 52. There's nothing for liver. Live 52 is working. That is from a herb. So these are all being prescribed by allopathic doctors, but they are Siddha medicines. So we are not certified those medicines as being, effective. That's what we need to do.
Thank you, Mr.
Sir, I'm Dr. Madhuka, formerly advisor with NAC. Having traveled in many parts of the country, I take what you said, that certification, and you stop at that certification or you get multiple certifications. But there's a social issue involved in this. Like across India, we find that there's a clamor for degree, that you need to get a degree. And that has a social value in the system, and many talk about it. So how do you look at the marrying a social degree, a degree with a certification course? Whether people will be inclined to go for certification course more depending on with the social issues that comes with it.
So what kind of social issue are you talking about?
Like a degree has a value, a respect in the system.
So
Whereas if you say he just remains a missionist, there is a contradiction in that. I'm not, because being an engineer, I am agreeing what you are saying, that a specialist skill with some knowledge will be have a benefit in that system, and he will be more productive, more efficient, effective. But in the social system, the non-graduate has its own way of looking at him. So that is the contradiction which comes in many parts of India which I have traveled.
Yes, sir. With a lot of respects, our director here, he still only gives a diploma. If you look at Indian Institute of Management, they give a postgraduate diploma in management education. They have not been certified to give an MBA yet. I mean, if I'm not mistaken. Now we are giving, sir. So originally when they started, Indian Institute of Management were giving post-diploma. But what happened over a period of time, that became much more valuable than even a Harvard MBA because of the recognition that we have. So we have to have some kind of a certification of people. Let us say Siddha practitioner, if he's prescribing certain drugs, he should have a certificate which says, okay, this guy is trained for this. So this is something where we need to get, you look at all the Western world, these certificates, first thing they ask you is, are you trained for this? And you say, I've gone for an 8-week course on this particular thing, then you are allowed to practice it. So instead of me going through a 3-year degree for getting one benefit, I do a 12-week course, which will certify me only for that particular skill. So this is what we need to develop over a period of time.
In addition to that, I think you all know that in ISB Hyderabad, they give only certificate. And they charge higher than IIMs and IITs. 42 lakh fee, 1 year, and they give only certificate. They will not, because they are not taken any law of lands approval, regulator approval. So they give certificate, but still there is a rush and, that education institution, they cross, their annual turnover, if you know, it is about 800 crores. And they only certificate. Even PhD also, they started, that also they give certificate, they can't give PhD. Even not diploma, only certificate. But other than that, degree and diploma, if you talk about in America, in project management, they call PMP. PMP is more valued than any degree. PMP, Professional Management Practice Certificate. So PMP, or even in many certificate, even many of the institutions, most of the IIMs, they started. IIM Nagpur, we have 25 variety of certificate programs. And we are the first one to start cyber security program, first one to start blockchain with cyber security with the FedEx. So those are the hot cakes, and people do only certificate, they don't get into degree. Of course, we have MBA degree, PhD, but many people prefer those who are working professionals to sharpen their skill and to further progress and go deeper. They do this kind of certificate because today every business is platform based and every platform has a cyber security, many such kind of risks. So depending upon their requirement, they do the certificates and they are available. And their credits are also in NEP, they are counted for if they accumulate many such credits and courses, if it is relevant to any degree, they may also get degree. So those, and somebody after 1 year, 2 years, if they want to leave, they will get certificate or diploma, and after few years, they can come back and do. Those kind of provisions are also there. So the degree and diploma today, the time has come, people don't look at only competency. Is not alone sufficient, capability is important. In the corporate world, from where you have taken degree, it was valued more, but here onwards, a competency capabilities are considered more valuable than the degree from where you have taken. I think that is going to come.
Hello. My question is both to Dr. Maitri. My name is Dr. C.N. Narayana, and to Dr. Manikam. Very interestingly, I've been going through the workload. I'm talking about the credits in UG level. On an average, 130 credits are given for UG students. And the deemed to be universities give something around 176 to 180 for UG level, which is quite contradictory to the thought process we have. One is certificate, I live alone the certificates. But how do we really manage this kind of load on teachers and the students? Because we want niche area people to actually come like a spark. That's not going to happen because the time is not available. The second thing is ISB. He talked about the people who pass out of 1 year degree, they get much more than IIM's 25, 30 lakhs on an average. So certificate has got values there. So brand still works there. So that's what the thing. A lot of degree colleges are now looking at certificate courses for short term. But having said that, as he rightly said, Dr. Madhukar, the corporate people don't look at the certificate seriously. That's a fact. So how do we really manage, even with NEP, the workload going up for faculty members and students, and to get autonomous, you have to move from a 130 average of UG to 170 to 180 hovering around, and a PG level is much higher with extra courses. Now, how do we really address this in the education system?
I think,
you see, certificates, no, all institutions are not allowed to go for certification according to our regulation. Only those who are extremely good institution as per the NAC and MBA score. NAC out of 1,000, NBA out of 1,000, those who score 750, they are allowed to start certification. Or in NAC, those who have 3.26 and above in NAC score, they can only go for ODL mode, degree or diploma or even other thing. So there is only good institutions, because reputed institution can only go, so that the industry and those who are aspirant, they should be benefiting. That is one aspect. And second one, workload, many times what happens, the most of the education institution, they consider whatever the All India Council for Technical Education or UGC norms are there for the lowest. That is a minimum standard. We take it as a maximum, and that is where the workload issue comes. People won't do the research, because we consider, this is the intake and these are the faculty strength. So we take minimum 1:15 is there, but government or regulator will not stop if you go for 1:10, if you go for 1:8. then people will get a quality time for doing, teaching a course and doing research and doing administrative services, consultancy, training, all can be done. But institutions have to hire, they should get out of the minimum, a regulator prescribe minimum, and we should consider that as a minimum. And if you hire more, for example, I was in MDI Gurgaon, the intake capacity wise only 30 faculty were required, but we were having 75 faculty because MDI was known for executive education. So one should hire more, then automatically workload issue will not come, and people can manage, many people as per their choice, teaching, training, teaching, research, or teaching, administration, consulting, many areas they can get into that as per their passion. But that one has to come out of the, regulator has told only 1:15, I will go for 1:15, I think we should get out of that.
Okay, sir. Thank you. May I now call upon Dr. Arun Kumar Arumugam, Executive Director, Altam Agro Technologies Private Limited, Coimbatore, and Managing Partner, Evukti Business Solutions, Coimbatore, to give his concluding remarks.
Good afternoon, all. Indeed, it's an honor to share the stage with my once boss, Dr. Manikam. I had prepared a lot of notes, assuming that I'm supposed to deliver a keynote address. To my surprise, I'm to conclude, but that makes my work much more easier. So at the outset, I think the program, the seminar, or whatever we call it, had set the right context to brace the next years to come, which we call as future. Future may be the next second, future may be the next century. But between that, I think the eminent speakers, much experienced, have precisely set the context. Ma'am Sheila ma'am had set it with a correct flow, and all the context relevant to the subject matter of empowerment for the 20th century, skill, which I would rather call as talent. Skill is rather different from talents. But since education is being addressing only skills, talent hunting has been missing. So I find myself more relevant because I had been heading the Department of Biotechnology, and I had been teaching for over 8 years, being a professor, and have turned myself into an entrepreneur. So I had been generating skills, now I'm absorbing skills. So I know the gaps, and everything that they had mentioned, deliberated, and the questions that came out have been a very fluid and very lucid placement here. So ma'am said to the level of few things that, dealing with the neural matter, I'm trying to rephrase all that has been said over here, dealing with the neural matter of any individual human or animals, and the neural process based on the environmental stimuli, the stimuli being the education system. Where have we lost our indigenous system? But we'd been a 5,000-year-old culture. We'd been still celebrating it, but somewhere we've lost out on that. So being Indian and having a global reach is the context, if at all we are going to empower. That is the context ma'am had said. And Dr. Manikam had beautifully elaborated on some of the questions. One, he had left about the workforce, or whatever question that madam has left with, do we feel proud about the Indianness or the Indian education? And the question lays before us to seriously answer, can we expect an 18-year-old to be so mature to differentiate between the system of being the Indian? And then he translated it, who should start first? Is it the politicians, bureaucrats, or is the establishments or the institutions of education who has the onus of being proud in skilling the future generation? So that question still remains in front of us. It should not be a policy. All that has been deliberated in this room for the 2 days, having concluding remarks, preparing a report, should not just stay as documents unless otherwise it is translated into action and actionable points. Matters would remain as documents, and it may be a reference point of history in the future to come. So there was one other gap that, when the deliberation in the questioning session was talking about the corporate's understanding and the social dilemma of taking an MBA degree for an invitation, for a marriage invitation matters more than, actually delivering to the economic potentials. So there has been a marketing cartel where, markets are being created now. And education has been treated as a product. But I think the sense that has been made by Dr. Manikam has really opened our eyes. So the system of education has to be looked at what it should deliver, and it is not the time, the quantity of time that matters, it is the quality that should deliver. So reduce your 130 hours to 96 hours, as long as you are able to, understand deep pesticides. Another transformation that he made was that, even we, the ma'am from PhD had raised the question of, why are we feeling, shy, not ashamed? Why are we feeling shy to walk into our own farm? Because we believe, or we are made to believe, that we don't know anything in farming. Our forefathers have been doing well. Why should I disrupt their system as long as the system that supported their farming? But at the end of the day, those workforces are not going to remain. And it was alongside added that, the talents having skills, example in China, talents having skills has to be infused with a theory so that they will know, the vendors will know, the skilled workers will know that, this is the foundation where we can improve upon the system, be it machining, be it AI. So this was a context that was, placed by Dr. Manikam. And of course, being a professor, Dr. Bimaya, his centric talk was on disruption and primarily on data acquisition, which trickled down to the skilling part, and he had, elucidated on the crystal clear skill systems, which he primarily mentioned. The most important point is that, sense-making skill shall be the central point to the life skills. I think the entire species evolves based on how we sense the environment. And all the other subjects are subsets to the sense-making. Unless otherwise we sense it well, we have the competence and capacity to sense well, I don't think, any education system will ever deliver its objective. And he had pinpointed, though very impliedly, the finest and the most critical of all senses is the survival sense. So the theory of evolution says that, the fittest survives. And who is the fittest? Who is able to adapt to the fittest? So the most important skill, he said, was the agility skill. So the agility skill is very, very important. The deliberations of the questions were very pertinent, and I'm sure that, there should be more questions, but for want of time, we need to wind up. Overall, I enjoyed the session, and out of this session, we have inputs enough to draw cornerstones and framework to develop a roadmap and a blueprint to prepare ourselves to empower the indigenous skills to make it reach to the globe, not only in the 21st century. We begin in the 21st century and remain linear. So the NEP has scope of accommodating all the recommendations being made over here, and these certifications and whatever is to be told are to be made empirical so that, pick and choose will deliver competence in the human beings and capacity in the economic development. This is the overall observations I could make, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for your concluding remarks. Before concluding the session, let's have the time to have the felicitations. And I invite Dr. Vidya Rani to felicitate Dr. Sheila Reddy, ma'am. Thank you. Now I request Dr. Shiva Prasad, sir, to felicitate Dr. Manikam, sir. May I request Dr. Kishore, sir, to felicitate Dr. Nemaraya Mitri. Thank you, sir. Now may I request Dr. Ashok sir to felicitate Dr. Arun Kumar sir.